Sci-fi RPGs are making a comeback, and the next big sci-fi RPG is going to be Exodus. Everything we know about Exodus is setting this game up to be the next Mass Effect, and I don't say that lightly, but the potential is there. Not to replace Mass Effect, but to stand alongside it as the next revolutionary sci-fi RPG. The devs have explicitly said they're leaning more towards a Bioware science fiction game, saying you'll be able to make choices that have lots of cinematics, and your protagonist will be fully voiced with lots of drama. And June, Exodus's protagonist, will have a more defined personality like Shepard. So the similarities are already there. For those unfamiliar with Exodus, the studio behind it is Archetype Entertainment, and Archetype was founded by James Olin and Chad Robertson, two longtime Bioware veterans. Drew Karpyshyn is the lead writer, who obviously was one of Mass Effect's founding fathers. So it seems like Exodus is in some very capable hands, and that they want to make a game similar to what they knew from their time at Bioware. Alongside Karpyshyn, well-known sci-fi writer Peter F. Hamilton and Adrian Tchaikovsky are the other two known writers building the world of Exodus. In their latest dev Q&A, they did say that their testers have been playing the game and that they will share more in December. They also revealed that the next gameplay trailer's date has been decided, but they aren't ready to share it just yet. And with their first trailer being at last year's Game Awards, I think this year's Game Awards could be their next big reveal. They just released their first novel in September called The Archimedes Engine, and December 10th is Secret Level, which does have an Exodus episode. There are some stills of the episode up on the Amazon website, and there's actually a little clip as well. The episode is called Odyssey, and we can see clips from the first reveal trailer, as well as an awakened animal. It looks like we're about to get a very heartbreaking story. But it also feels like marketing is ramping up, and it sounds like next month is going to be big for Exodus. So if you're interested in Exodus and want to know more about what you can expect in the actual game, here is a breakdown of everything that we know. A quick summary of the basics, and then a more detailed breakdown of what's actually expected to be in the game. Exodus is being developed on Unreal Engine, and is a story-driven, third-person action-adventure sci-fi RPG. It has a fully voiced and customizable protagonist, and is focused on choices and consequences. June will have companions, and the game does have romance. Exodus will also have a more linear narrative versus an open world, but there is freedom to explore as well. The game is intended to have replayability and multiple outcomes and endings. The developers want this game to be the beginning of a larger franchise, with the possibility of more games set in the same universe. The game is being developed on current-gen platforms, including PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, and PC. And Exodus will focus on the concept of time dilation as its main core mechanic and behind its choices and consequences.
All your missions are going to include choices that have impact, but not all of them are going to be directly due to time dilation. There's a big story in Exodus, and you're going to be making choices throughout the entire game, of course. Maybe one of the coolest aspects of it is that some of your choices are going to create a domino effect. Like in Act 1, when you have to decide which companion... Oh, can I share this?
No.
No? Okay, well, there's going to be some cool choices that have cascading effect in the game, and the ones where time dilation is in play, yeah, those are the most significant in the game and likely to have the largest ramifications in your story. All the choices you make are going to affect your progression as a character and how you develop as the traveler. Your choices are also going to have an impact on your homeworld and the people that you care about, but the wrong choice can change your relationship in ways you may not anticipate. Or maybe that was the right choice for you. Ultimately, it's your game, and we want to give you those choices to do those things.
Those are the basics of the game, and here is a breakdown of the actual story. Exodus takes place roughly 40,000 years into the future. After Earth became uninhabitable, people were forced to leave their planet, venturing into the stars in hope of finding a new start. Several arcs were sent out all across the galaxy in search of habitable planets. These arcs reached the Centauri cluster, 16,000 light-years from Earth, where they find several habitable planets and send out the Green World signal to summon the remaining arcs to their new home. Arcs begin arriving, and by the time they arrive, the first humans who arrive in the Centauri cluster first have now changed. Empires have risen and fallen, and the first humans are now known as Celestials. Through genetic engineering, these Celestials have rapidly changed and evolved, and are far from the humans they once were. The formation wars break out and dominions rise and fall, creating a hierarchy within the Centauri cluster. The Elohim, one of the first celestials, have now risen to prominence, establishing peace and prosperity. They also build the Gates of Heaven, an interstellar network that links all of the system of Centauri. The Elohim become an unchallenged power, and through this they establish unbreakable laws while also reforming the system, moving different habitable planets to new systems. The Elohim eventually vanish, which brings us to Lydon, which is one of the planets that they moved. And this brings the rise of the Aslan dynasty. This is when the game will be taking place, and it's roughly 40,000 years after the initial exodus from Earth. Our protagonist is June Aslan, the child of Orion Aslan. Orion began his journey as a mercenary, and eventually became a traveler who through his travels emerges as Lydon's leader and savior. Through his many journeys he established the Aslan dynasty, a powerful network of loyal followers to rule over his homeworld during his absence while he is away from Lydon. Sometime during the rise of the Aslan dynasty, Lydon begins experiencing the Rot, a technovirus killing Lydon, and thus June is created, a perfect genetically engineered half-human, half-celestial, created with the intent to bridge the gap between the two very different races. As June, you are humanity's last hope. Shortly after June's birth, your father Orion leaves on one of his Exodus missions and never returns. With Orion's absence, June's brother Gideon seizes control of the Aslan dynasty, declaring himself the ruler of Lydon, forcing you, June, a mere child, to go into hiding. Sometime later, June becomes a traveler like Orion, using time dilation to travel through the Gates of Heaven in search of celestial remnant technology. Through time dilation, you will make major decisions. Days for you are decades for loved ones back home, and entire lifetimes may pass during your interstellar missions. Your choices will have consequences, some that may even create a domino effect. Every mission you go on will include choices that have impact, and these choices will exist throughout the game. As of right now, on the Exodus website, there are currently 5 companion slots. One was added later after the initial launch of the website, so there might be more still coming. Our first companion is Tom Vargas, from the initial reveal trailer, and he is another traveler. His bio says that he was experimented on by an enemy military, and in the trailer we see his journey with Maxine Trent, his partner and another traveler, who discovered remnant technology and a celestial ship. This discovery allowed for travel through the Gates of Heaven. With this, Max and Tom found remnant technology, and this would go on to help their civilization and planet. But an encounter with hostile alien Ghost and being hunted by the Celestials separated the two after Tom used himself as bait to save Max. Max would go on to continue her journey alone as a traveler, becoming immortalized in the Human Exodus Museum we see in the trailer. Unfortunately, Max and Tom were separated by time dilation, and Tom returned several years later, long after Max lived out her entire life, and many years have already passed. But for Tom, it was only a few days. This trailer gives us a taste of the choices we will have to make as a traveler. Our second companion is Elise Charoux, a mercenary and soldier from 23rd century Earth. She is a weapons expert, a mercenary, and a former gang member. She is also a sleeper, someone who spent their entire journey on the Ark ships in a state of semi-hibernation to survive the journey. This extended cryosleep does have side effects, and because of this, Elise has fragmented memory loss and can only remember bits and pieces of her past. Her tattoos represent a connection to her past, though she isn't sure what it is, and her quest to find out what that connection is has made Elise pursue connections to Earth to help her recover some of her lost memories and questions about her past. Her mech is one of her connections to Earth, and since arriving in Lydon, she spends her time upgrading it and trying to better the lives of other sleepers. She only wears her suits during missions and spends most of her time in Borderline, a region in Persepolis, one of the major city areas on Lydon. The other 3 companions are unknown, but one looks like it's maybe a celestial with the markings on its head. One looks like a human woman, and the last one looks like some type of robot, but we don't really know what these are. Alongside your companions, you will also interact with Celestials. Celestials are the once humans who arrived in the Centauri cluster first, engineering themselves further and further away from their humanity. The Celestials look down on the newly arriving arcs and all the humans that inhabit them, and they treat the humans as lesser than. 25,000 years of evolution and change separates the humans from the advanced Celestials. Even though ARC ships from the 23rd century are still arriving in the Centauri cluster, these passengers are assigned to protected worlds, where they take shelter from a universe that has long since left them behind. To Celestials, these humans are seen as primitive, relics of a bygone age, living in the shadow of their own legacy. They have no future. Humans are relegated to backwater planets and do not have the same powers and control as the Celestials. They are looked down and often under Celestial control. No two Celestial races are the same either. Some have evolved into horrible creatures like the Marayama, who feast on the memories of those they harvest, relishing in their cruelty as they traverse interstellar space. Some have more humanoid and exaggerated appearances, and some even have what are called bloodstones that grow on Celestial bodies. These indicate the end of their body's life. Some Celestials share their memories through their bloodlines, becoming forever queens, passing down the same memories and traits from queen to queen. And while there are several different types of Celestials, the type that we will be dealing with the most in Exodus are the Crowned Celestials and Crowned Knights, which are the oldest of the Celestials. They are also the most aggressive and hostile, specializing in war. Aside from the Celestials, in Exodus we will also meet AI, robots, changelings, awakened, and silicates. These are just a few of the different races and species we can expect to interact with. Awakened are genetically engineered animals, most often altered with the purpose of performing a task. Some are made stronger, faster, more intelligent, and their level of sentience seems to vary. Some animals in the prologue stories can speak using a translator, and they work on ships or have other types of jobs alongside humans. One pig even bit the hand of a man right off. She had super speed and super strength. In the Archimedes engine, there are awakened dogs who do patrol duty, and the main character has a moment when he touches the pad on the dog's head, using the ability of neural induction to control the awakened dog. Aside from more known domesticated awakened animals, there are awakened elephants, bears, ravens, lions, pandas, which are used as mounts. And there are so many more different types of awakened animals. Changelings are different and more advanced. Often they are transhuman species that were genetically engineered to fill a specific niche, such as combat or memory storage. Often they are altered to be submissive and docile, so that Celestials can use them without any resistance. The Gath, for example, are an extremely docile species that has been used for labor while being severely mistreated by the Celestials. The Gath are roughly 10 feet tall with heavy muscular frames, and their skin is the color of pale rust. They were created to be strong for the manual labor, while also being gentle and meek for control. Another example of a changeling is the Moksha, which were created to store memories. They, like June, have the ability to use neural induction, where they can transfer information and then transfer it back. They are essentially living storage units, and unlike the Gath and most changelings, they are not humanoid but are more centaur-like, being quadrupeds. And like the Gath, the Moksha have been exploited by the Celestials. The Moksha produce what is called recall, from a gland in their brain, and Celestials have been extracting it directly from living Moksha. They keep them penned up like cattle, and extract the recall until the Moksha deteriorate. The recall is like a memory. It allows you to remember a point in your life and flood your consciousness with it. You relive the memory, and it's said to feel like traveling back in time. Sometimes changelings exist to be used as mindless soldiers for the Celestials, such as the Marayama's creation, the Coven. They live in pain and exist to cause pain. They have terrible existences, and as changelings, they are not seen as living creatures, but only tools to be used by the Celestials. While most species and beings we meet in the Centauri cluster originated from Earth in some capacity, The one true alien life form found in the Centauri cluster are the silicates. No one knows where they originated from, but they are some kind of crystal or gem egg that only activates when humans bond with it. This causes the silicate to hatch and merge with human flesh. And while for most, this bond results in death, those who do survive the bonding process transcend. The transformation is permanent and creates an entire new being called a daemon. The skin changes and becomes translucent and impervious. The muscles evolve, giving the once human super speed and strength, alongside other unique abilities. They become weapons, and all of these strengths become so strong that even the Celestials fear them. But the silicate bond results in other changes, including violent thoughts and urges. Theories suggest that the silicates speak to their once human hosts through these dark thoughts and try to control their behavior, leaning into a darker purpose, but the truth behind the bond remains a mystery. Alongside all of these, there are AI that look like humans, robots, ghosts, which are another type of celestial creation. There's so many cool concepts and races and abilities, and the coolest one is probably the Livestone. Livestone is a silicate-based rock that were planted by the Celestials. A seed kernel is placed, and over many years the Livestone grows, and it can be manipulated through neural induction pads, specifically by Uranics and Celestials. This is the ability that our protagonist June has access to by being half Celestial. So presumably we too can manipulate the Livestone. With Livestone, buildings are created, and depending on the complexity of the request, the Livestone reforms and then hardens, and the process can even be reversed. Sometimes the process even takes years to complete. We've seen somewhat I presume is Livestone manipulation in the trailer, and here is this one slowed down. If this is Livestone, this is a very cool ability that June gets to use. I don't know if the major city hub of Persepolis was created by it, but this is most likely Persepolis, the major city hub on Lydon. I assume we'll be spending a lot of time here between Exodus missions. The world of Exodus feels and seems massive. There's so many concepts and stories they've already seemed to introduce, and we haven't even seen the game yet. But if this game is as massive and as immersive as they're making it out to be, we could be in for something really big, and something really good. There isn't a ton of gameplay footage right now, but as far as combat, there is this little small snippet, and Robertson did say that your weapons will progress alongside you and won't become obsolete. Time is a factor in weapon management, and the technology is affected by the passage of time. Years and decades go by while you're on Exodus missions, and when you return with remnants, you have the choice to decide how you want to use and harvest the remnant technology. And these choices will affect your gameplay and story. You can change your personal technology, affect your civilization, and your direct player experience as well. As June, you also have access to a weapon called the Orion Gauntlet that you can use in strategic tactical combat, and the veteran devs behind the combat are from Halo. We've been getting a lot of trailers, a lot of information about the game over the last month, and I think it's really ramping up to be a lot of marketing alongside Secret Level. We've even been getting trailers that have been narrated by Matthew McConaughey, who is a major character in the Exodus game. As of right now, he's voiced a few of the prologue stories and cinematics on the Exodus website. There is so much to this game and this world, and even just today they released another short story called Dig Deep. This story tells the horrors found on some of the worlds in the Centauri cluster. Exodus really seems to be leaning into horror, mystery, and the potential of science fiction, and I am so excited. So if you're excited for Exodus and want to know how the world feels, I definitely recommend checking out the Archimedes engine. It's massive, it's over 900 pages, and it's just pure world building and lore. And while it takes place after the game and in another system, there is a lot of overlap with concepts and some character name drops, and there's a lot of things that we'll experience in-game. So it's definitely worth checking out, and the sequel, The Helium Sea, will hopefully be coming out maybe next year. We also have Secret Level coming out on December 10th, and while I did cover some major things we can expect to see in Exodus, there is a lot that we know about this game, and specifically the world. There is a ton of information on the Exodus website, And like I said, the Archimedes engine is basically all world building. So if you are interested in this world, make sure to check out their website, read the prologue stories, check out the timeline. There's a lot there. So let me know what your thoughts on Exodus are. Are you excited? Are you skeptical? Let me know all your thoughts, and thank you to my channel members and Patreons for all your support. Thank you all for watching, and see you next time.